So here we are, the third Sunday of the season of Easter. And it's a season of looking for the risen Jesus. It helps if you look in the least expected places, and if we look with the eyes of our hearts, not just with our eyes. In our story today, we have another appearance of the resurrected Christ. In the chronology of the story, this is the same day, although we experienced it 2 Sundays ago, the same day that Mary Magdalene told the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and they dismissed her. That same evening, Jesus appeared to the 11 and the others gathered in the room, which we experienced 2 Sundays ago. That same evening, 2 of his disciples, Cleopas and another disciple, are leaving Jerusalem. They aren't in a locked room. They're going home. Everything is over. And Jesus joins them. What happens next is about what we do every week, our worship pattern of this story. 3 things strike me about our reading today, and it was long. Hope shattered. Jesus' gentleness and seeing Jesus. So here they are walking along. It seems like they're revisiting the whole story with each other, with broken hearts, sharing with each other what had transpired. And Jesus joins them, a stranger. Here's the amazing thing, or at least one of the amazing things. Jesus joins them on a quiet road heading to the middle of nowhere, and he appears to them. He doesn't appear to the rich and powerful. He certainly doesn't appear with vengeance in his heart towards those who are responsible for his death. He approaches the 2 disciples so gently and in an understated way that they don't recognize him. There are a few things to highlight about Christ's powerfully quiet and gentle manner. As he joins them, he invites them to tell their story. And he listens. He hears them out, allowing healing through the telling of story. And then, when they're done, he tells the story back to them. And as he does, the story changes. It comes from the perspective of the resurrection. That changes everything. Notice the freedom to leave. When they reach Emmaus, Jesus gives them the option to continue without them. He makes as if he's going to leave. So they have to be absolutely clear about their desire to have him stay. And they are. Do they want him to stay? Are they willing to risk hosting a stranger in their home? Do they wish to go deeper with him? Or are they simply happy for the visit and return to their ordinary lives without learning more? Excuse me. Notice the smallness of things. Once Jesus and his companions are around the table, Jesus takes simple bread. He blesses it, breaks it, gives it. That's right. So small a thing, it changes everything. Everything. And here's our pattern of worship. And it's hard to see when we're in it. Often seeing God is like looking through a rear view mirror. Often it's only afterwards that we can experience the revelation. Didn't we feel our hearts burning? Our pattern of worship is this. We listen to Jesus' story through the eyes of resurrection. We listen to the readings, the retelling of the story, which has the potential to set our hearts on fire. And our music helps make the space sacred. And we repeat Jesus' actions of taking bread, blessing, breaking, and sharing. This has the potential for us to embark on a new journey, stepping into a new life of intimacy and companionship with God. What is odd about this story, and I think we talked about this at morning prayer, is they don't recognize Jesus. Jesus is hard to recognize for them and for us. I think there are several reasons why this might be the case. Some have attributed this to God veiling the eyes of their heart. Others have proposed that the resurrected body is somehow different. Okay. All of the reasons that I can think of, and I'm going to list more in a moment, can be true at the same time. None are mutually exclusive. What if they have trouble seeing because they simply don't expect to see a dead man walking? His presence is out of context. It's not remotely expected. I mean, who expects to see a dead person? Ever been somewhere, on a trip, maybe, where you see a person who reminds you of someone you know from somewhere? Gee, that looks like Jack. Only to discover it is Jack. And you both marvel at what are the odds of meeting in this context that's so different. At the airport, thousands of miles away, our familiarity with someone is impacted by the context in which we expect to see them. And what if we don't recognize him in part because he's not the Messiah that we expected, but we had hoped? Hoped for what? The Messiah to deliver Israel to freedom? Not ending in death, anything but death. We all expect God to appear in certain ways. For some, it's in clear, powerful, unmistakable ways. Yup, that was Christ. And many of us expect resolution, clarity, and certainty. Isn't certainty great when you can get it? And when life doesn't fit those expectations, we often assume that God is absent. Funny that. And what if we don't recognize him what if they don't recognize him because of their grief? The eyes of their hearts and our hearts are, when they're impacted by grief of shattered dreams, and we've all had them. Most of us have hope for something that we know is no longer possible. And our grief blinds us sometimes to what is right in front of us. But here, God is present, quietly, alongside, unrecognized. Their eyes were opened, not because the facts changed, but because their perception did. Through hearing the word and taking bread from this table, after it's been blessed and broken, that's the pattern of our worship. That's what the disciples on the road to Emmaus experienced. Recognition comes through relationship. It's much easier to recognize somebody with whom you have a close relationship with, isn't it? A relationship with God that God calls us each into. A question for you to ponder, where might Christ already be walking alongside us, unrecognized? In our conversations, in our moments of uncertainty, in the people that we struggle to understand. Maybe we're looking for certainty when God is offering companionship. Maybe we're looking for answers when God is offering presence. Maybe We're looking for resolution when God is inviting us into relationship. And then there's the final detail. Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road? Only afterwards do we often realize that something has already been happening. Hearts are awakened before eyes are opened. This good news is this, that God is often at work in us before we recognize it. That is good news indeed. So this week, I have a few invitations for you. You will find that I'm going to invite you to things most weeks. So good news, when you hear the invitation, most often that will be a cue that the sermon is almost over. I invite you this morning to be open to experiencing the presence of Jesus in and through our worship together. I also invite you this week to look at the week that you just had, looking through the rearview mirror, and reflect on where Christ was in your week. Was it through a homeless person? Through your relationships with family and friends? Or, well, you fill in the blank. Finally, I invite you to play a game of Where's Waldo? Everybody remember Waldo? Yeah. Looking for Jesus in the exchanges that you have with people this coming week. Now, for those of you who are coming to the induction this afternoon, please do not tell Archdeacon Monique that I said Jesus was Waldo.